It's like you stay true to yourself. You follow your North Star. You don't let all the noise get to you, whatever that noise is, right? It's just noise. It's just noise. Don't pay attention to it. Don't listen to it. Don't let it derail you. Too many people do that. And that's why I love it, is when you stay true to yourself, you know who you are, you have that confidence. That's what inspires people. Everybody's looking for that. Welcome to the Extraordinary Purpose Podcast, where we explore some of the truly difficult questions and challenges that parents and their families face every day. Whether it's the sometimes painful process of parenting teens and young adults, navigating relationships with your partner and children, or you discovering your purpose in relationship with yourself, we will bring heartfelt and vulnerable conversations to the table to support and empower you. Our mission is to help you create a lifestyle full of love, passion, adventure, and influence. Here we go. All right, Erin, take a breath. Get excited. Get that smile on your face. There it is. Because it's time for another episode of the Extraordinary Purpose Podcast. Woo-hoo! What's going on, everybody? We're excited to be here. I'm Chris, and as always, I am here with the absolutely amazing, incredible, and fabulous Erin Vertis.
Keep it coming.
Come on, there's more there.
What's going on, everyone?
How's everybody doing? We are so thrilled to be back with you. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. A couple of months ago, everybody, we did an episode about some of our favorite personal development books. And that episode really resonated with all of you.
Yeah, we got a lot of feedback on that episode. I think it was one of our most listened to episodes so far. And we just got a lot of people sharing the books they love and thanking us for sharing some of ours. People that went out and got the books we recommended and then, gave us their feedback and how it touched them or inspired them. It was amazing.
It was amazing. It was really exciting because, books and movies and, music that really get us feeling good and are positive. That's something that Erin and I are super passionate about. Mm-hmm. There's so much negative out there.
Yeah.
And so what do we talk about here? We talk about positive. We talk about things that we can do and listen to and watch that are going to make us feel good. And so I teased today's episode because I said watch. And so that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to continue talking about movies that we can watch as parents, as young adults, and as families that are going to make us feel good, that are going to positive, that are going to empower us, and are going to get us motivated and coming together.
Yeah, we were talking about what we should name the title of this podcast, and I like what you said, Bae, which is like movies that move us.
Movies that move us.
Right. And I mentioned this when we did the episode on our favorite personal growth books, but it's worth just kind of reiterating that, one of the rituals we teach in our young adult program is being the gatekeeper of your mind.
Yeah.
And what that means is helping young adults, and so quite frankly, all of us, be very mindful and aware of like the content that we consume. So Chris is right, whether it's music, the books we read, the movies we watch, even the podcasts we listen to, it's okay to, have a balance, but it is really important to make sure that we are taking in, especially in our culture today, more inspirational, motivational content. And movies can be so inspiring. And honestly, some of the movies that Chris and I are going to share today, we're going to share, both of us have some favorites that we picked out that to us, I don't know, that we really got something out of these movies around parenting or how we show up in the world around kids and raising teens and young adults. And it wasn't until we started having the conversation about these movies the last few days, like we didn't realize how much all of these movies really have touched us and like made such an imprint on our lives.
I think sometimes you forget just the effect that movies and music and books can have on you, positive and negative. And unfortunately, a lot of it's negative. A lot of it's, it doesn't make you feel good. And that's what Erin and I really care about the most, is like, how does it make you feel? What are you learning from it? What are you taking away from it? Is it helping you or is it hurting you in some way? And so here we are today. I'm thinking back, like some of my first memories when I was a wee kid, is of going to the movies with my family. watching Back to the Future.
Did you just say a wee kid?
I did. Why did I say that?
I don't know. It just
Oh, when I was a
me.
wee kid. But no, when I was young, how does that sound?
There you go. It's better.
Some of my favorite memories were coming together as a family, going to the drive-in movie theater, or going to the cinema, and just sitting there and looking up at the big screen and watching these movies. And I just remember not the details of the movies anymore. I remember how it made me feel. Because when you are consuming this content, it's not surface level. It very rarely is surface level. It goes a lot deeper than that. It goes deep into your soul, deep into your emotions, and there's so much you can learn from that.
Yeah. And, you know, you're going to be surprised. A couple of these movies are not, you might be thinking we picked these really dramatic, like heartfelt movies, and some of them are, but some of them are comedies that just had a deeper message. And that's kind of what we, you know, our main goal here today is to inspire you to, if you haven't seen some of these movies, maybe you watch them. If you have seen them, maybe you go back and watch them again after we kind of break them down and let you know how we have seen them from a different perspective. And then also just to think about, as you going forward, as you watch movies, to take the deeper meaning behind them, even in some of these like funny, lighthearted comedies.
Yeah. And I think the spirit of this, Erin, is that, you know, a lot of times when we're watching movies, listening to music, reading books, like we're a little bit too passive. It's on in the background. Like we're looking up at it, but it's not registering. Like we're not intentional. Yeah. And so I think the strategy, if you want to call it that, moving forward is we're going to slow down a little bit. We're going to become more intentional, and we're going to start to take away some really positive impact from these amazing pieces of art that we're watching on a regular basis.
Yeah, so all of these movies we're going to talk about, we highly recommend that you create a family movie night and watch them all together as a family. At the very minimum, watch them with your partner or just you and your child, but definitely involve, you know, in your relationship somehow, because we're going to give you some sort of conversation starters to have after each of these as well. So let's dive in. You chose a movie that we just watched the other night. Chris and I watched it with our 14-year-olds, my daughter Skylar and our son William. And it's Family Plan with Mark Wahlberg and Michelle, how do you say her last name? Monaghan. And I think that was a 2023 movie, but it's a comedy. It's hilarious. I love Marky Mark.
The Funky Bunch?
I love it. So it's a comedy and it's extreme, but let me tell you what I really took away from this movie. So the first part I love about this movie is when they're going on the road trip and he takes everyone's phones and throws them out the window. And that's really extreme. But I remember when I watched this movie the first time with my son, River, and my daughter, Skylar, I was like, you know, they were like, oh, that's you, Mom. That's something you would love to do that.
Yeah.
And not because I hate technology. Obviously, we wouldn't be here talking to you if I despise technology that much. I don't like how addicted we get to it and how much it impacts our sense of being together and our communication with each other. And so that part right off the bat really just impacted me because I just think it signified in a really extreme, funny way what we all think as parents, that we just want to run these cell phones over sometimes or throw them out the window so that we can connect on these road trips together. And so I think another deeper meaning in this film is that at the end of the day, what this signified to me and what, you know, Mark Wahlberg's character signified to me is about being more vulnerable as a parent and what can happen in a family when parents open up, when parents become more vulnerable, when they share their mistakes from the past, when they share some of the things they might feel humiliated by, and they show this human side to themselves. I feel like this helps a family connect so much deeper. It gives kids permission to share their own mistakes with their parents and not feel like they have to keep this facade going because parents are always keeping this facade going that they were these perfect teenagers or they never made those mistakes. And I think it just gives parents a break from needing to appear perfect all the time.
That's pretty cool.
And I know that's a lot from like a funny extreme movie like Family Plan, but it's true.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, when we can open up more, and so kind of a conversation starter that I chose for this one, if you watch this with your kids or with your partner, is to think of something from your past as a parent that you can share with your kids. Maybe something that you right now you might be cringing, thinking, oh my God, I don't want my kids to know this about me. I don't want to show this side of myself. But what's something from your past that you can be honest about and share with them that's going to show the more human side of you that could potentially create a way more intimate relationship between you guys? Because what happens at the end of this movie is they all come together and they all open up. And the kids, hold him accountable and say, you've been upset with me about this. And here you've been carrying this around with you all this time. So it was really, really powerful.
I love Marky Mark as well. So a couple of key takeaways because we just watched this.
Yeah.
Number one is the road trip. Like a big part of the movie is a road trip across the country. They're fleeing the bad guys, right? But what happens when he throws the phones out the window is initially everybody's angry. Like they're really upset. Everybody, including the mom. They're like, what are you doing? Have you gone crazy? And then what happens is, and I'm sure it was very intentional, is that there's a lot of scenes of them coming together as a family and smiling and laughing and having conversations.
Singing together
and having fun. That, by the way, never would have happened had they all had their noses on their phones.
Yeah.
And so I just absolutely loved that scene or those particular scenes.
Yeah.
Really, really powerful.
Love it.
Okay, so that was a good first one. And remember, guys, this is just inspiration. So it wasn't my first choice. I'll get to some of those coming up here soon. But
it was so hard to break these down and just choose a handful.
Okay, I'm going to go completely off the rails here real quick. But my number one movie of all time is Back to the Future.
Oh, my goodness. All right, Brad, are you listening to this?
We just had to get that out there.
Him and his best friend have seen Back to the
Best
Future.
movie of all time.
8,000 times.
At least 8,000 times. Yeah. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. I live my life by those words.
I know you do.
But no, anyway, so the next movie that we're going to talk about is the movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey.
Love Yes Man.
Yes Man's a great movie, but it more importantly has, I think, a really strong message. And that's the thing that really resonated with me and that I wanted to share. And so the idea of the movie Yes Man is that Jim Carrey's character goes to a self-help guru. And during that seminar, he embraces this new philosophy of saying yes to everything that comes along. It doesn't matter what it is. And he is a man up until that point in time in his life that's stuck, saying no to everything, no to new people, conversations, going out to dinner with friends, job opportunities, et cetera, et cetera.
Living in fear.
Which, by the way, can a lot of people relate to that? Of course. Of course, because a lot of us live in fear. A lot of us hold ourselves back. A lot of us aren't doing the things that we really need to be doing to really live a full life. And so the whole point of the movie is that he embraces this philosophy, and throughout the majority of the movie starts saying yes to everything. New friendships and new opportunities and new hobbies, and he's learning new languages, and he's giving strangers, rides in his car, and he's just having so many new experiences. And the great thing about this, everybody, is he learns so much about himself. Mm-hmm. He starts to figure out who he really is and what's important to him. And he starts to create this incredible life for himself because he opened himself up to life. And I just love that.
Yeah.
And so the conversation starter here, if you're watching this with your family and with your kids, is just right now, like, what's one thing in your life that you can say yes to, that you've been saying no to up until this point in time? One idea, one activity, one dream, one goal, one anything. That's all it takes. So that becomes a habit of starting to say yes, not to everything, by the way. He comes to that realization that, you can't say yes to everything, but it starts to get him to understand how saying yes can help you in so many incredible ways.
I love that. And I love that movie. So the next movie that I'm going to talk about, this one is a little bit more serious. This one's a little bit more of a drama, but it's Life is a House with Kevin Kline and Kristen Scott Thomas. And this movie, I think, this is going on 20 years old. It might be like 16, 17 years old now, but older. It's a classic. And for me, this movie really represents, in terms of like parenting, I think what so many of us, and I say us because I'm right there with you, what so many parents are missing in our modern culture. And for me, it's about creating like non-negotiables for our teens and young adults, taking, a more stern like stance and offering deeper and harsher guidance sometimes where it's necessary. And so there's a scene in the movie when Kevin Kline's character goes to his ex-wife, where the son he's been kind of estranged from as a young adult, living with his mom, and the mom's a little coddling him a little bit and protecting him. He goes there and just says, "You're coming to stay with me for the summer." Mm-hmm. End of story. He has this whole idea that he wants to tear down an old family like beach house mm-hmm. and rebuild this home. And he wants his kid to come do it with them. He knows what this is going to mean to him eventually. Mm-hmm. And the kid doesn't want to come. The mom doesn't want him to have to go because she feels sorry for him. And she doesn't want him to feel forced to do something he doesn't want to do. Sound familiar, parents?
Yeah.
And he basically forces this kid, his son, to come stay with him and start this project and building this house with him. And he just knows what's going to be best for him in the long run. He doesn't care if his son hates him for a while, which is something I think that we all struggle with, right? We don't do this with our kids often enough because we don't want them to dislike us. We don't want to make them feel forced.
Yeah.
And so he gets past all of that. And I just think it's there's so much more to that movie, obviously, but in terms of like parenting teens and young adults and what I really got out of that movie. And then it just shows throughout the rest of the film, the ripple effect that this has on the rest of their family.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary what can happen when we follow our intuition as parents and we really take a stance and we do what's best for our kids, regardless of if they quote unquote hate us for a while. That's okay. And so something to think about if you're watching this with your partner, with your kids, is to really ask yourself, sense that clearer boundaries or like firmer guidance is really needed, but you're not having the confidence enough to really step into that role. And ask yourself that, and how is that going to change their lives if you can get out of your own way?
Yeah, and be willing to face the resistance.
Yeah.
And I think that seems to be a theme in a lot of these movies we've talked about so far, is there was some sort of resistance that had to be overcame in order to get to the other side. Throwing the phone out the window of the car, saying yes to more opportunities, or in this case, making your son spend a summer, without distractions with his dad.
Building a house,
creating this once in a lifetime memorable experience. It's going to change him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's opportunities like that out there for all of us.
Always.
Just are we opening ourselves up to them? Are we willing to take that step forward? That's the big, tough question to ask sometimes.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a great one, Erin. One of my favorite movies of all time, besides Back to the Future, is the Rocky franchise. Okay, you may be thinking that's lame, that's cheesy, but once again, we're going to look deeper.
Well, yo, Adrian. Cheesy.
We're going to look deeper, I said. And the way that we look deeper is we look at just the way that a movie like that makes you feel. Okay? Yeah, it's got cheesy parts in it. Yo, Adrian included. But man, does it pack an emotional punch?
That's actually emotional, not cheesy.
I know it is.
Adrian.
So hold on. I actually agree with you.
Yeah.
But, for all of you that know and love the Rocky, especially parents, and maybe our kids, a lot of kids haven't seen this. And so this is why we're here having this conversation. But there aren't a lot of movies like this out there. Rocky is a true underdog story. It is about a down on his luck, end of the road, aging fighter who had no hope, who is given an opportunity of a lifetime to step into the ring, literal and figuratively, to face the biggest opponent of his life. And there's so many metaphors there. It's giving me just shivers just thinking about it. But there's a moment in the first Rocky movie where he is standing alone. I think it's the day before the fight. Yeah. And he is questioning if he even wants to go through with it. He is facing his demons. He's facing his fears. He says, you know what? This guy's going to kill me. What am I doing? And then he comes to the realization. Actually, he goes home and has a conversation with Adrian, and they have a beautiful conversation. And I think their love is part of what motivated him to wake up the next morning and go to the fight. But anyway, the Rocky franchise is about resilience. It's about stepping into yourself. It's about finding your limits and surpassing them. You know, one of the best quotes from Rocky that I said at my dad's funeral is, it's not how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's life. That's winning. So it's not about being the strongest or the fastest or anything like that. It's how many hits you can take, how many times you can fall down and keep getting up and keep moving forward. That's the definition of winning in this world.
Yeah, and I love that in terms of, you know, we talk a lot to parents about letting their kids fall down and to stop trying to save them and protect them and do for them, because we're sending this message to them constantly by doing it, that they're not capable, that we don't think they're capable. And so that message there of like, let your kids fall down, let them face their own demons. Let them face their own resistance. That's the only way they really grow and learn what they're made of.
That's right.
And I know, you know, my son's 18 going on 19, and I'm coming up against that with him. And he's got some things he's facing in his own life right now. And I know I have to step back and just let him make up his own mind, create his own opinion about things, find his own resilience. And so we all know when we have young adults how painful that is to watch, but you have to let them do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love the Rocky franchise, honey. You're so passionate talking about it.
I sure do. But see, that's what it does. You find your movies, you find the deeper meaning behind some of these movies, and it brings something out of you. It connects with that part of yourself. Yeah. That's what I love about it.
That's partly what made me fall so in love with Chris. He does emotionally connect with music and movies in a way that like very few people do. Oh. Love
Thanks,
that.
Babe.
All right, so let's talk about these two, Chris and I kind of both agree on. Well, we agree on all of these, but both of these films touched us for different reasons. So we're going to talk about the Top Gun Maverick movie that was out about 3 or 4 years ago, the newer Top Gun with Tom Cruise, and then Formula One that was just out last year with Brad Pitt. Yeah. And so in both of these films, I'm sure so many of you have seen them, these characters are sort of like coming back, would you say, or resurfacing in their careers that they had at one time, right? Yeah. So Tom Cruise's character, he was an Air Force pilot and just hanging on by a thread. Nobody even wanted him around anymore. He was kind of washed up. Then they asked him to be a teacher for this new generation coming into the Air Force. And he thought, I'm not a teacher. He's like, I'm not teaching these kids. That's not who I am. And then Brad Pitt, I don't really remember the full story with Brad Pitt's character, but I just know that they wanted to bring him back to do the Formula One race car driving.
So in Formula One, you know, Brad Pitt's character, he is brought in for his leadership, for his experience, because the other driver on his team was a young rookie, very talented, but had no experience, hadn't been tested yet, you know? And so Brad Pitt's character is there. He's old school, you know, he's got old school strategies. At the end of the day, like everybody admires that about him. You know, he's motivated, he's cocky, he's confident, he's got swagger, but most importantly, and this goes for both of the movies, Top Gun and F1, they're both passionate. They're doing this because they love it. It's because it's who they are. That's a quote from, I think, both movies, is that this is just who I am. It's not what I do, it's who I am. And that was probably the biggest takeaway I had from both of those movies, is that when you love something and that's what you do, it becomes a part of who you are. And therefore, it's not a job anymore. And when you have that, you have something that very few other people have, but they look up to. And by the end of the movie, in F1, for example, that young rookie, he was following in Brad Pitt's footsteps, you know, mimicking a lot of the things that he learned by watching that character. And that's what I love, is that sometimes leadership, experience, and confidence, but also just raw passion, I think sometimes that's missing in today's world.
I think it's missing, and I think where it really can be missing often is with parents of teens and young adults, because I think we can really, our confidence can become very deflated raising teens and young adults. We can feel very uncool, like we're getting older. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know all the right things to say. And I think a lot of parents start playing small and they don't shine and show their kids their true potential. What both of these characters in these movies represent is amazing, like wisdom and knowledge and life experience. And that's what they're bringing to the table. And unapologetically, by the way, that's just who they are. They let it shine. And in turn, these younger generations underneath them start following. Same thing in Top Gun with Tom Cruise. These kids end up just thinking he's just a badass.
Yeah.
And so as parents, I know it seems a little different when you're a parent, but not so much.
Yeah.
I've gotten so much better over the last couple years, even in my life, as I've gotten more confident in who I am, what I'm doing, that my life experience and wisdom and knowledge really matter. Living my life to its fullest, being completely and utterly authentically me. And when I do that, my kids have a whole different vibe around me.
Yeah.
I feel their awe and their appreciation, and they look up to me in a different way. And then when I'm playing small, or I'm feeling, a lot weaker, or I'm just not really shining as my true self, they can sense that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. And I think the last little takeaway from those two movies specifically is that you don't hold yourself back. You don't get in your own way. It's like you stay true to yourself. You follow your North Star. You don't let all the noise get to you, whatever that noise is, right? It's just noise. It's just noise. Don't pay attention to it. Don't listen to it. Don't let it derail you. Too many people do that. And that's why I love it, is when you stay true to yourself, you know who you are, you have that confidence. That's what inspires people. Everybody's looking for that.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. Well, this was so fun.
This was great.
Yeah.
And
like
this was just a start.
I know we have so many other movies, but we're going to come back in the next few weeks with music.
Yes.
And then we're also going to do one last one when it comes to content of podcasts.
That's right.
Yeah. So we will be back with both of those episodes, but I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I hope maybe you haven't seen some of these movies, watch them with your family, with your kids, with your partner, and take in the deeper meaning. And, we gave you some great conversation starters to talk about with your kids after you watch these movies. So have fun.
See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.
We are so thankful for you and your beautiful family, and hope you found something inside today's episode that brought you hope, inspiration, and most importantly, a path forward. If you're interested in evolving your relationship, giving your kids the most important gift of personal growth and development, or are a mom looking to reconnect with your confidence and become empowered in all areas of your life, then schedule a discovery call with us today. Our mission is to help as many families as possible find their purpose, and that starts with you. See you in the next episode, my friends.